Well, are you hungry? Do you want to support local Black-owned businesses? Well, more than 100 restaurants are part of Huntsville's Black Restaurant Week, which starts today. From seafood to soul food, there's sweets, there's something for everyone. And our Nixon Norman has more.
It's important for me to support business, period. I'm a business owner, but for me it's personal when I support Black-owned businesses because I'm also an African American. And when we support one another, we all grow.
It's always important to support local business, but this week there is a special highlight being shown on Black-owned businesses, specifically Black-owned restaurants here in the Valley.
Black Restaurant Week is so important because if you look across the restaurant industry, Black-owned restaurants, and specifically Black-owned woman restaurants, still disproportionately receive funding and support. And so I think events like this help highlight so many businesses that maybe people didn't even know about, highlight specials and special services that perhaps the community didn't know about that they can take advantage of.
I am a foodie, and Black Restaurant Week is for someone like me, maybe a business owner who doesn't always have the time to get out and network face-to-face with people. So having these types of events where it's a specialized community that's completely highlighted also gives us an opportunity to support and learn more about the businesses that are in our community.
And Chef Mason wants to do something special in honor of the Restaurant Week with a plant-based, soul food-inspired Crunchwrap Supreme.
Mac and cheese, collard greens, barbecue jackfruit, and hot sauce.
Ingredients are inspired by the culture while staying true to the veggie theme of the restaurant.
The veggie was built on soul food and again on food that we try to make familiar, but that's plant-based. So in the South, everybody knows about mac and cheese and collard greens and barbecue, but it's also very familiar to Black culture. And so we wanted to bring a piece of that to the city at large, but also to kind of get back to our roots as how we started as a small business.
Support from the community as a whole is important, but support from other people of color is especially important.
Because it's like family. Whether I know you face to face or because we share the same culture, the same struggles just because of our skin color. That is the reason why it's important for us to support one another.
Putting the Valley first, Nixon Norman, WZDX News.